Welcome everyone to the beginning of our new year. We're third day into the new year, but our new year Great Bible Truths series. We're going to be spending about 6 months, a little less than that, 150 days, going through the great biblical truths or major Bible stories and concepts. So let's cut to the chase. Our passage today, if you came to my church Sunday, you got a copy of this book. If you didn't, I'm going to give you the verses right here of what you're going to go through, and I'll even link these in the description so you have them. Genesis chapter 1, Genesis chapter 2, verses 1 through 9, and then 15 through 25. Okay, so again, those will be in the description, so I'm not going to spend too much time showing them. Also, there's 3 questions here, and in fact, I'll put those in the description as well. There's going to be 3 questions from the reading in the book that if you don't have the book, you'll need the questions for. So those questions, I'm going to read them very briefly. What is the difference between human beings and other creatures? 2, what do you think life was like in the garden for Adam and Eve? And 3, what were they told not to do in the garden? So as you read those passages today, you can think on those questions. If you're married, talk about those questions with your spouse. If you have children, ask those questions to your children. So here's the beauty of this devotional. It's those verses I put there, or if you have our book, which is just these verses in kind of a 150-page sectional, you could open this book with your children. Okay, so it gives you a little description, part 1. I timed it. If you read just the verses, it's about 3 minutes. If you read the little explanatory notes here, take you about 4 minutes. So it's not a ton of reading each day, okay? And sometimes it'll be shorter than that. But today's is, if you read all this, 4 minutes. Like I said, if you read just the verses, it'll be a little less. But when we think of family devotionals, I do want to take a moment to talk about that. There's a lot of ways we could do them. A lot of ways. And there's entire books thicker than this on family worship. And I would encourage those. The catechisms are great. The Heidelberg Catechism, New City Catechism, Westminster Shorter Catechisms. I would encourage all of you to look into those. But wait 6 months. Do this first. Why? Because it's simple. And some of you guys are already doing them. And if you got something that's working great, okay, keep going. Don't change it up just for me. If you're getting started though, this is perfect. It's a simple 2 chapters of the Bible, a little less than 2 chapters. At the very least, read the Bible, read those chapters, and pray with your kids. Make that your family devotional. That's a perfect start. Ask your children things that they would like to pray for. This doesn't have to be complicated. Again, you could add a lot of elements in, and you can make it even better. But sometimes just simplifying what you're doing and doing it each day will be more productive. Spending 20 minutes 5 days a week in the gym versus 1 hour a week in the gym. Sometimes that 5 20-minute sessions will be better, right? So this is something you can do 7 days a week with your kids. A family devotional, 4 minutes of reading, spend a few minutes in prayer. No matter how busy your kids are in school, no matter how busy you are in work, everyone has 5 minutes. We got to be honest, and we got to challenge ourselves to stick to that 5 minutes, because we're all going to say it was just too hectic today. No, you're going to make 5 minutes for a ton of different things. So make 5 minutes to read this. If you're single, for yourself. If you're married, with your spouse. If you have a family, with your kids. So hopefully this makes sense. As I mentioned the other day, the translator of this, or the general editor of this, he wrote this book as a missionary to India. And what I like about it, and why I encouraged to pick this up rather than just give you the verses each day, is because he's in India, he translates, God, Yahweh, because Hindus have thousands of gods, right? Not millions of gods. And so the word God is generic in the English language, but he translates God to Yahweh to emphasize who we're talking about, what God we're talking about. So I like that little, caveat there. He's doing it for an audience to highlight we're talking about the true God, Yahweh of Israel, who called the covenant people and now calls us as his covenant people through Jesus Christ. So as you read these verses, think on these questions. I'm going to give you a brief answer. What is the difference between human beings and other creatures? Again, these are just short answers. You can add to them, but ultimately humans are made in the image of God. 2, what do you think life was like in the garden for Adam and Eve? Answer that. It's a subjective question. I think life would have been perfect and great, but you can obviously add to what you think it would be like. 3rd, what were they told not to do in the garden? They were told not to eat of the tree of good and evil. And try to highlight those questions and the importance of questions if you have young children, and maybe help them understand and explain. And again, you don't have to be a Bible scholar, but you just want to bring these stories. At the very least, even if you don't go through the questions, read the stories. But the questions are pretty basic, so I challenge you to do those too. So there's day 1 under wraps. We'll see you guys tomorrow. God bless.